Hello, 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 you gorgeous human beings. It is me, Susie Ashworth, Sunday Times best-selling author of the book Infinite Receiving, and it is day 28 of 75 Hard, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I've done my first little bit of work since we came on holiday today, and it felt really, really, really good. I recorded a podcast, and the podcast is called 11 Essential Questions to, I think, maybe have the best year yet, or make the most of 2026. It's a really good podcast. It's a little bit of a longer one. It's 40 minutes in length, and I just break through part of my review process. Part one is all about looking back, and part two, which will be out next week, will all be about the questions I'll be asking myself looking forward. And that felt really, really good. I've not fully done the process yet, but it felt really great getting the questions out, and I'm just excited to get a really full picture of what I've learned over the last 365 days. I have learned so much, and even just sharing like the little tidbits of awarenesses and insights that I've had in the podcast, it just made me realize that 2025 has been, God, it makes me feel a little bit emotional actually. 2025 has been an epic year, and that, as you know, epic does not necessarily all mean good, but I was looking, what we will share with you is I was looking at my like one pager with all of my goals and desires, and what I said at the beginning of last year is that 2025 was going to be about expansion on every level. And it has been, not necessarily in the ways that I thought it was going to be, but I have been stretched in every way. And I have been super resilient, and I've held it. I have stretched my capacity in every way, and I'm really, really proud of that. So that feels like a really positive place to then start looking ahead from. So I did that. And the second thing that I did was a first in our business. I was just sharing with my sister, we did something today that in the history of my business, I have never done before. And arguably, I could have made a bigger deal out of it, although given the context of what it was, which I will tell you about in a minute, I will not continue to be super cryptic. Maybe I didn't need to make a big deal out of it, but it feels so important. You know, yesterday we were talking about the power of the compound effect. A couple of days ago, I was talking about the importance of consistency. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned in my business, and one of the biggest years I had in my business financially, is when I rinsed and repeated the same launch over and over again. We would do the same launch every 6 to 8 weeks. And some people thought that the frequency of that was too much. Some people thought that wasn't it boring? And it wasn't boring, it was refinement. It wasn't boring, it was mastery. And it wasn't boring because we'd have the same people come back again and again and again. We'd always have new people, but we'd have the same people come back. Do you know how powerful it is when you have the same people coming back 1, 2, 3 times, and you're saying the same thing and they are still not doing that thing that you're telling them every single time? That is the power of the compound effect. That is the power of repetition. That is the power of hearing the same message again and again and again, and knowing that because you keep investing your time and energy with this teacher, that they have got something that you want. That's the power of repeating the same launch over and over again. Now, as I always say, all strategies work. You find the strategy that works for you. This was a strategy that worked for me. This year, we did something similar. we took 2 launches and alternated them throughout the year. This was the year, 12 years into my business, where I finally learned how to do a webinar that got results that were on a par to my 5-day challenges. I have practiced webinars, I've done webinars again and again and again, but I always preferred to have a longer period of time. I've always loved challenges. I've always loved workshops where I just get to spend time with people, and was never really able to feel as confident in nailing it over 60 to 90 minutes as what I was if you gave me 5 hours, which is essentially what you get with a challenge. But from a logistical perspective, from a timetable perspective, from a client perspective, it just wasn't possible for us to do that. And also I just wanted to be able to leverage my time more. So I had to work out webinars. And I'm really, really grateful that I got to work with somebody this year who didn't show me loads of new things, but there was one specific thing that they showed me, and it came off the back of also observing Alex Hormozi and his record-breaking 100 million in 3-day launch. And what really struck me with him and what we did on our webinars was he talked for an hour and then sold for 11. He sold for a really long time. And what I had always done up until this year is try to fit everything into 45 to 60 minutes. I'd seen people do 2-hour webinars, but I couldn't get my head around the content. Like if I was going to extend the webinar, I would extend the content. And the biggest lesson was really allowing time for questions and to be able to answer questions. So you're welcome. This has been revolutionary for our masterclasses. To take template that we already had and then add this section at the end, absolute gold. So for the first time this year, we mastered masterclasses. Now, what we did today, for the first time in 12 years, despite me having thought about this many, many times before, despite me having bought the software to do this thing many, many times before, I've never been able to do it because I've never been able to master a webinar where I was selling. But because I probably delivered 2 masterclasses, maybe, I want to say at least 12 times last year, which actually, when I say it out loud, isn't that huge amount. In comparison to how I used to do it, it's like once or twice, not do it, let's do a challenge. I did it at least 12 times. I mastered it. And after going to mastermind with one of my mentors, he was like, okay, well, why don't we just evergreen this? And I was like, okay, great. Like straight on the phone to Sophie, and within 24 hours of him making the suggestion, the masterclass, maybe it was like 36 hours, the masterclass was up. And the masterclass wasn't up, we were sending ads to it. So today we ran our first evergreen masterclass, and it felt like an incredible live experience. We had a 30% show up rate, which is really, really good. And then the chat was just popping off. I was in the chat, team were in the chat, and we were answering questions. The people were answering their questions, and the whole experience felt exquisite. And what I realise is that this first today in my business is the compound effect of making a decision at the start of last year, and then practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and getting better and looking at it and putting the transcripts into AI and being like, where should we tweak this and what should we tweak this and how did this do in comparison to the last one? Okay, let's change it. being willing to be super forensic until getting a, I don't know, I think it was like a 24% conversion rate, 23% conversion rate, and being like, okay, that's a winning webinar. Now let's evergreen it. And today we've got maybe 17% conversion rate. This could be absolutely, is going to be absolutely revolutionary for my business. For me to be able to have a masterclass running and one member of the team answering questions in the chat. It saves time, saves money, saves energy, and gives me the opportunity to work on more revenue generating opportunities whilst still making money, still selling tickets to our live events, which means that it becomes inevitable that we will hit our goal for our certification students, which we missed last year because we were still in test mode. And I think this is the point. I hope you feel my excitement. I don't think people get to see this side of me often enough. I think people get to see a lot of the woo and a lot of the manifestation and a lot of the kind of motivation. It's like, I love strategy. The reason that we are in business after all of this time is that this stuff is sexy to me. And I am willing to put in the legwork to understand why something doesn't work, and then be willing to change, willing to evolve it. And with this particular example, it's taken 12 years, but I had something that was working, that served me, and I was willing to put the time and energy into making that better. And so this was always on the back burner. This year I decided that I could no longer put it on the back burner. And it took 9 months of practicing to get to this point. Boy, was it worth it. What I want you to take from this is that even when you have as much experience as I do, all business still takes some testing, tweaking, and playing around with and mastering. And I don't want you to forget that. In fact, I want you to revel in it. I want you to relish it. I want you to be excited by it. Because when you can get your head in the game like this, it all becomes so much easier. You stop questioning whether you're cut out for it. You stop questioning like what's wrong with you, and you just get on with it. And if you can take some of this energy into 2026, by 2030, you are going to be unstoppable. And I'm not saying it's going to take you 4 or 5 years, but I mean the compound effect. You take this energy into 2026 with you. The compound effect of you bringing this, being excited by it, refining, mastery, commitment to yourself and to the strategies that you're going to work with. By 2030, you're going to be untouchable. That's exciting. That is exciting. So, day 28, 75 hard. Life has been giving today, and I have been receiving. If this has been useful, helpful, give me a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, because then the algorithm will be like, oh, Jenny from the block likes this. There are other Jennies from the block over here, and we will share this video with other people like her, which I'd really, really appreciate it. And in the meantime, I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going into ceremony, which I'm very excited about. So I will be recording early. But in the meantime, please remember that faith plus action equals miracles.